The highly anticipated basketball season is about to tip off, starting with a couple big matchups between Philly and Boston, then OKC and Golden State. But first, let's go over the offseason changes, and we had quite an unexpected offseason. Starting with the Atlanta Hawks under new head coach Lloyd Pierce, who was an assistant coach for the Sixers for the past 5 years or so. They got young undrafted guard Jalen Adams signed to a two-way contract. 41-year-old swingman Vince Carter signed as a free agent after spending a season with Sacramento. 20-year-old guard Kevin Huerter was the 19th overall pick in this year's draft. Guard Jeremy Lin was traded with draft picks from Brooklyn for rights to young guard Isaiah Cordinier and a future second-round pick. 20-year-old guard Trae Young was the 5th overall pick by Dallas, then traded with a future first-round pick for the 3rd overall pick, a 19-year-old swingman Luka Doncic. Young swingman Justin Anderson was involved in a 3-team trade where the Hawks got Anderson, veteran forward Carmelo Anthony, who was later bought out and waived, and a 2022 first-rounder, while the Sixers got forward Mike Muscala, and the Thunder got guard Dennis Schroeder and young swingman Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot. Young forward Daniel Hamilton signed as a free agent, was with the Thunder last season. Forward Alex Len signed a 2-year, $8.5 million contract, coming over after 5 years with Phoenix. Forward Alex Poythress signed a 2-way deal. Young forward Omari Spellman was their first-round 30th overall pick in the draft. And the notable players gone are, of course, guard Dennis Schroeder has been a big player for them. Played 5 years since being their first-round draft pick in 2013. And forward Mike Muscala together was their second-round pick that year. So a lot of pickups for Atlanta. Now for the Boston Celtics, young guard PJ Dozier signed a 2-way contract. 29-year-old guard Brad Wanamaker signed as a free agent, making his first NBA team after finding success in Europe. Forward Walt Lemon Jr. signed a 2-way deal, was with New Orleans last season. 20-year-old forward Robert Williams was their first-round 27th overall pick of the draft. And the notable out, forward Greg Monroe was a nice late-season addition. He has signed with Toronto, so not a lot of moves for Boston. And the Brooklyn Nets, young guard Travion Graham signed as a free agent after a couple seasons with Charlotte. Guard Shabazz Napier signed as a free agent after a couple seasons with Portland. Forward Ed Davis signed as a free agent after 3 seasons in Portland. Veteran swingman Jared Dudley was traded with a 2021 second-rounder from Phoenix for forward Darrell Arthur. Forward Kenneth Faried was traded with Darrell Arthur before that, and 2 draft picks as well from Denver for young guard Isaiah Whitehead. 20-year-old forward Rodions Karuchis was a second-round pick in the draft. 19-year-old forward Dezanin Musa was the first-round 29th overall pick of the draft. Young forward Theo Pinson signed after going undrafted this year. Forward Allen Williams signed on a 2-way deal after 3 seasons in Phoenix. So a lot of changes for Brooklyn. And for the Charlotte Hornets with new head coach James Borrego, who was an assistant for Greg Popovich from 2015 to 2018. Young undrafted guard Joe Cheeley signed a 2-way contract. Young guard Devontae Graham was drafted in the 2nd round by the Hawks, then traded to Charlotte for 2 second-round picks. Young undrafted guard J.P. Makura is the other 2-way player. 36-year-old veteran guard Tony Parker has signed as a free agent after his whole career in San Antonio. Forward Bismack Biyombo was involved in a 3-team trade that got Charlotte 2 future second-rounders as well. Orlando got veteran center Timofey Mozgov and guard Jerian Grant, and the Bulls got guard Julian Stone. 20-year-old forward Miles Bridges was the 12th overall pick by the Clippers, then traded with 2 future second-rounders to Charlotte for the 11th overall pick 20-year-old guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And the notable out is veteran Dwight Howard, who played a great season. Was traded to the Nets, then waived and signed with Washington. Next for the Chicago Bulls, signed 20-year-old undrafted guard Raleigh Alkins to a 2-way contract. Young guard Chandler Hutchison was their first-round 22nd overall draft pick. Young guard Tyler Ulis was claimed off waivers from the Warriors and signed on a 2-way contract. Spent the last 2 seasons in Phoenix. Young forward Jabari Parker signed a 2-year, $40 million contract after 4 years in Milwaukee since being drafted there. 19-year-old center Wendell Carter Jr. is the 7th overall pick in this year's draft. So just a couple pickups for Chicago. And now we have the LeBron-less Cleveland Cavaliers. Guard David Nwaba signed a 1-year, $1.5 million deal coming over from Chicago. 19-year-old guard Colin Sexton was the 8th overall draft pick this year. Young forward Sam Dekker was traded with the draft rights to veteran guard Reynaldo Sebudas in cash from the Clippers for draft rights to veteran forward Vladimir Veraminko. Veteran forward Channing Frye is back after the trade with Isaiah Thomas to the Lakers last season. 20-year-old undrafted forward Billy Preston signed a 2-way contract worth 2 years. For the notable outs, veteran forward Jeff Green was a key piece for them all season and the finals run. He has gone to Washington. And of course LeBron James after his second stint. I mean, he did what he needed to do, bringing the championship home and making the jersey burners buy new ones. He's finally moved to the West, joining the Lake Show. Moving on, we have the Detroit Pistons and their new head coach Dwayne Casey, coming off his Coach of the Year season, helped their Raptors transition into a winning team in a 7-season span. Young guard Bruce Brown Jr. was their second-round pick. 37-year-old guard Jose Calderon returns to Detroit and reunites with Coach Casey, was with Cleveland last season. Young undrafted guard Keenan Evans signed a two-way contract. Signed undrafted guard Zach Lofton. Signed young guard Glenn Robinson III as a free agent. Spent the past 3 seasons in Indiana. Young guard Kyrie Thomas was a second-round pick by Philadelphia, then traded for 2 future second-round picks. And veteran center Zaza Pachulia, who won 2 championships with the Warriors. The notable outs are forward James Ennis III played well in a short stint. He's gone to Houston. And veteran forward Anthony Tolliver played a good full season in his second stint in Motor City. He signed with Minnesota. For the Indiana Pacers, signed guard Tyreek Evans as a free agent coming from Memphis. Young guard Aaron Holiday was their first-round 23rd overall pick in the draft. Guard CJ Wilcox got a 2-way deal. He was with the Santa Cruz Warriors of the G League last season. Young forward Alize Johnson was their second-round draft pick. Forward Doug McDermott signed a 3-year, $22 million contract. Spent last season with New York and Dallas. Signed forward Kyle O'Quinn as a free agent. He spent the last 3 seasons in New York. Notable outs are young guard Glenn Robinson III has left his hometown team after 3 seasons, signing with Detroit. Swingman Lance Stevenson was electric again in his second stint. He's gone to the Lakers. And the Miami Heat basically made no moves, only signing young undrafted forwards Yante Matin and Duncan Robinson to 2-way deals. And so we move on to the Milwaukee Bucks, with their new head coach Mike Budenholzer, who was the Hawks coach for 5 seasons, signed guard Pat Connaughton, who spent 3 years in Portland. Young guard Dante DiVincenzo was the 17th overall pick in the draft. 20-year-old undrafted guard Trayvon Duval signed a 2-way contract. Veteran guard Jody Meeks was traded with a second-round pick in cash from Washington for a second-round pick. Young guard Jalen Morris was the other 2-way player. He was with Atlanta last year. Veteran forward Ersan Ilyasova has signed for a 3rd stint. He was with the Hawks and Sixers last season. Got young forward Christian Wood, who was with Delaware in the G League. And signed center Brook Lopez as a free agent. Spent last season with the Lakers. For the notable outs, swingman Shabazz Muhammad played well in a short stint, is now a free agent. Their former 2nd overall pick, young forward Jabari Parker, played 4 seasons, averaged 20 points in one, has moved on to Chicago. Next, we have the New York Knicks with new head coach David Fizdale. He was the coach of the Grizzlies from 2016 to 2017. They signed young guard Mario Hezonja, who spent 3 seasons in Orlando. Young undrafted guard Alonzo Trier signed a 2-way contract. 19-year-old forward Kevin Knox is the 9th overall pick in this year's draft. Young forward Noah Vonleh signed as a free agent, spent last season with Portland and Chicago. 20-year-old center Mitchell Robinson was their 2nd-round pick. The notable outs include veteran guard Jarrett Jack, who started most of their games, is now a free agent. Forward Michael Beasley was a good player for them, has signed now with the Lakers. Forward Kyle O'Quinn spent the last 3 seasons in New York. He's signed with the Pacers. For the Orlando Magic, they got new head coach Steve Clifford, who coached in Charlotte for the past 5 seasons. They signed young guard Isaiah Briscoe, who spent last year in Europe. Young guard Troy Copin has landed a 2-way deal. Guard Jerian Grant was acquired along with veteran center Timofey Mozgov in a 3-team trade, where Charlotte got forward Bismack Biyombo and 2 draft picks, and Chicago got guard Julian Stone. Young forward Melvin Fraser was a 2nd-round draft pick. Forward Emil Jefferson will be their other 2-way player. Young forward Jarrell Martin was traded with cash from Memphis. For young center Dakari Johnson and the draft rights to guard Tyler Harvey. 20-year-old center Mohamed Bamba was the 6th overall selection in the draft. The notables gone are young guard Mario Hezonja spent his 3 seasons in Orlando, has signed with New York. Forward Bismack Biyombo played a couple of decent seasons, traded to Charlotte. And veteran forward Maurice Spates played well, has gone to China. Next is the Philadelphia 76ers. Acquired veteran guard Wilson Chandler and a future 2nd-round pick from Denver for cash. Young guard Shake Milton was a 2nd-round pick by Dallas, then traded for 2 other 2nd-round draft picks. Young forward Ray Spalding and 20-year-old forward Kostas Antetokounmpo. Milton signed a 2-way contract. Young guard Landry Shamet is their 1st-round 26th overall pick. 19-year-old guard Zaire Smith is their 16th overall pick. Young forward Jonah Bolden was their 2nd-round pick in 2017, has now signed after a season in Israel. Forward Mike Muscala was involved in a 3-team trade that sent young swingman Justin Anderson, veteran forward Carmelo Anthony, and a 2022 first-rounder to the Hawks. Then young swingman Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot and guard Dennis Schroeder to OKC. The notable outs include veterans Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova were great late-season signings. Helped a lot in the playoffs too. Bellinelli signed with the Spurs, and Ilyasova has returned to the Bucks. Young forward Rashawn Holmes played 3 seasons since being drafted, was traded to Phoenix. And now my Toronto Raptors. Under new promoted head coach Nick Nurse, I was hoping for Jerry Stackhouse, but a big thank you to Dwayne Casey for all he's done for our team. So first of all, the blockbuster deal that brought the championship guys, swingman Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard from San Antonio, and shipped guard DeMar DeRozan, young center Jakob Poeltl, and a 2019 first-rounder the other way. Guard Jordan Lloyd signed a two-way deal. He played in Israel last season. Forward Chris Boucher signed a two-way deal as well. He was with the Warriors last season. And forward Greg Monroe signed as a free agent. Spent last season with Milwaukee, Phoenix, then Boston. And the notable out is obviously DeMar DeRozan. DeMar, the most loyal Raptor ever. Didn't expect to be traded, didn't want to be traded, but our organization has decided to move on by letting go of DeMar and Coach Casey. Can't thank those guys enough. So big changes for Toronto. It's going to be an interesting year here. And now we have the Washington Wizards. They signed swingman Jordan McRae to a two-way deal. He was playing in Europe last season. Guard Austin Rivers was traded from the Clippers for veteran center Marcin Gortat. 19-year-old forward Troy Brown Jr. was their 15th overall draft choice. Veterans Jeff Green and Dwight Howard have signed as free agents. Green coming from Cleveland and Howard coming from Charlotte. Young center Thomas Bryant was claimed off waivers from the Lakers. And the notables gone. Forward Mike Scott was an effective player for them. He signed with the Clippers. And veteran center Marcin Gortat was their starter for 5 seasons, was traded to the Clippers. Moving to the West, we got the Dallas Mavericks. Young guard Jalen Brunson was a second-round 33rd overall draft pick. 19-year-old swingman Luka Doncic was a 3rd overall draft pick by Atlanta, then traded for the 5th overall pick, 20-year-old guard Trae Young, and a 2019 first-round pick. Veteran guard Devin Harris has signed for his 3rd stint in Dallas, after being sent to Denver mid-last season. Young undrafted guard Daryl Macon signed on a two-way deal. 20-year-old forward Kostas Antetokounmpo was the last pick in the draft by the Sixers, then traded with the 56th pick young forward Ray Spalding for the 54th pick young guard Shake Milton. Forward Ryan Broekhoff signed a 2-year contract coming over from Europe. Center DeAndre Jordan signed as a free agent after playing his whole career with the Clippers 10 seasons. For the notable outs, guard Seth Curry played a terrific first season in Dallas before being ruled out for a second. He has gone to Portland. Guard Yogi Ferrell had a couple very good seasons, signed with the Kings. The Denver Nuggets, swingman Devon Akun-Purcell inked a two-way deal after success in Europe. Guard Isaiah Thomas signed as a free agent, spent last season with the Cavs and Lakers. 20-year-old forward Michael Porter Jr. was the 14th overall pick in the draft. 19-year-old forward Jared Vanderbilt was a second-round pick by Orlando, then traded for another second-round pick young forward Justin Jackson and a future second-round pick. Young center Thomas Welsh is a second-round pick as well, signed a two-way deal. And the notable outs include veteran swingman Wilson Chandler spent 7 years in Denver. He's been traded to Philly. Veteran guard Devin Harris was good in a short stint in Mile High, has returned to Dallas. 38-year-old swingman Richard Jefferson has retired after a season in Denver and a 17-year career. Forward Darrell Arthur is now a free agent after 5 seasons with the Nuggets. And forward Kenneth Faried spent all his 7 seasons with the team that drafted him before being traded to Brooklyn. And now for the defending NBA champions Golden State Warriors. Young guard Jacob Evans III is their first-round 28th overall pick. Signed guard Damian Lee to a two-way contract, spent time in Atlanta last season. And the Warriors complete their starting lineup with DeMarcus Cousins joining on a 1-year $5.3 million deal after 1.5 seasons in New Orleans. Young undrafted forward Marcus Derrickson got a two-way contract. Veteran forward Jonas Jerebko signed as a free agent after a season in Utah. Signed forward Alfonso McKinney as a free agent, was with the Raptors last season. And the notable pieces gone. Veteran guard Nick Young is now a free agent after a decent season. 38-year-old forward David West has retired after a 15-year career and 2 seasons in Oakland. Center JaVale McGee actually played well with the Champs. He signed with the Lakers. Center Zaza Pachulia started most of his games with the Warriors. He's gone to Detroit. On to the Houston Rockets. Signed guard Michael Carter-Williams as a free agent from Charlotte. Swingman James Ennis III signed a 2-year $3.4 million contract. Spent last season with Memphis and Detroit. Guard Brandon Knight was traded along with young forward Marquise Chris from Phoenix for forward Ryan Hamilton and a 2018 second-round pick 20-year-old guard DeAnthony Melton. Veteran forward Carmelo Anthony signed a $2.4 million deal after a season with OKC. Signed young undrafted forward Gary Clark. Young forward Vincent Edwards was a second-round pick in the draft by Utah, then traded for cash. 20-year-old forward Isaiah Hartenstein was a second-round pick in 2017, has now signed with the big club. The notable outs include veteran swingman Trevor Ariza played 4 very good seasons in Houston, has signed with Phoenix. Forward Ryan Anderson had 2 good seasons there before being traded to Phoenix. And veteran forward Luke Richard Mbah-a-Moute was a decent piece for a season, has returned to the Clippers. So interesting moves for Houston. And we move on to the LA Clippers. 20-year-old guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the 11th overall pick by Charlotte, then traded for the 12th overall pick 20-year-old forward Miles Bridges and 2 future second-rounders. Then they selected young guard Jerome Robinson with their 13th pick. Veteran forward Luke Richard Mbah-a-Moute has returned as a free agent, after a season in Houston. Young forward Jonathan Motley was traded along with the rights to veteran guard Reynaldo Sebutis from Dallas for the rights to veteran forward Marty Leunen and cash. Signed forward Mike Scott as a free agent from Washington. Signed young undrafted center Angel Delgado to a two-way deal. And veteran center Marcin Gortat was traded from Washington for guard Austin Rivers. For the notable outs, as I said, Austin Rivers was traded away, leaving after 4 seasons playing under his dad Doc Rivers and coming off his best season. Center DeAndre Jordan has finally got his chance to go to Dallas after all his 10 seasons in LA. And now for the Los Angeles Lakers. Young guard Sviatoslav Mikhailiuk was their second-round draft pick. Veteran guard Rajon Rondo signed a 1-year $9 million contract coming off a year in New Orleans. Swingman Lance Stevenson has signed as a free agent from Indiana. Veteran forward Michael Beasley signed a 1-year $3.5 million contract after a season in New York. 18-year-old swingman Isaac Bonga was drafted in the second round by the Sixers, then traded for a 2019 second-rounder in cash. And then that man, LeBron James, has moved to the West after completing his job in hometown Cleveland. Let me flash back though to that game he played against the Lakers last season. Do y'all remember after that game he had a conversation with Lonzo Ball telling him a secret message? We were all joking that LeBron was telling him, "Hey, don't worry, cause I'll be joining you next season." Well, joke no more, cause here he is. LeBron James is an LA Laker. Then young forward Moritz Wagner was their first round 25th overall pick. They also got center JaVale McGee as a free agent after 2 championships with the Warriors. And the notable outs? Young forward Julius Randle, the former 7th overall pick in 2014, has moved on to the Pelicans. Center Brook Lopez was their starter for a season, has gone to Milwaukee. So some big changes in the Lake Show. For the Memphis Grizzlies, swingman Kyle Anderson landed a big 4-year $37.2 million contract, coming off his 4 seasons with San Antonio. Young guard Javon Carter was their second round 32nd overall pick. Veteran swingman Garrett Temple was traded from Sacramento. For young forward Deontay Davis, guard Ben McLemore, a 2021 second rounder, and cash. Young undrafted swingman Yuta Watanabe got a 2-way contract. Forward Omri Caspi signed as a free agent from Golden State. 19-year-old forward Jaren Jackson Jr. was a 4th overall pick in this year's draft. Forward DJ Stevens signed a 2-way deal coming over from Europe. The notable outs? Veteran guard Mario Chalmers played well for 2 seasons, is now a free agent. And swingman Tyreek Evans has signed with Indiana, was very good in his season in Memphis. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, 20-year-old guard Josh Okogie was the 20th overall draft pick. Young undrafted guard Jared Terrell notched a 2-way deal. Swingman CJ Williams got a 2-way deal too, coming over from the Clippers. Young forward Keita Bates-Diop was their second-round selection. Veteran forward Luol Deng signed as a free agent from the Lakers. Swingman James Nunnally has signed after finding success in Europe. And veteran forward Anthony Tolliver signed a 1-year $5 million contract after a season in Detroit. And the notable out is 38-year-old guard Jamal Crawford has signed with Phoenix after a season in Minnesota. Next, for the New Orleans Pelicans, signed young undrafted swingman Trevon Bluiett to a 2-way contract. Veteran swingman Wesley Johnson was acquired in a trade from the Clippers for forward Alexis Ajinça. Signed young guard Alfred Payton, who spent last season with Orlando and Phoenix. Got young swingman Troy Williams, who spent last season with Houston and New York. Young forward Julius Randle signed a 2-year $18 million contract, coming after his 4 years with the Lakers. Young undrafted forward Kenrich Williams has made the team, and young forward Jahlil Okafor has signed after spending time with Philly and Brooklyn last year. The notable outs are, veteran guard Rajon Rondo played really well for them, especially in the playoffs. He's gone to the Lakers. Center DeMarcus Cousins worked well with the Brown in his time in New Orleans. He has decided to join the champion Warriors. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, 20-year-old guard Hamidou Diallo was a second-round pick by the Nets, then traded to Charlotte, and traded again for a 2019 second-rounder in cash. Young swingman Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot and guard Dennis Schroeder were part of the 3-team trade that sent forward Mike Muscala to Philly, and young forward Justin Anderson, veteran forward Carmelo Anthony, and a 2022 first-rounder to Atlanta. Young swingman Deontay Burton has landed a 2-way deal. Swingman Abdel Nader was acquired with cash from Boston in a deal that sent young guard Rodney Purvis the other way. Young forward Nerlens Noel signed for 2 years, was with Dallas for a season and a half. Young undrafted center Tyler Davis is their other player on a 2-way contract. Notable outs include veteran swingman Corey Brewer was a nice late addition. Veteran forward Carmelo Anthony spent only 1 season, has moved on to Houston. 37-year-old forward Nick Collison has retired, drafted by the Supersonics, played his whole 14-year career for the franchise. And the Phoenix Suns hired new head coach Igor Kokoskov, was a Jazz assistant coach from 2015 to 2018. They picked up veteran swingman Trevor Ariza on a 1-year $15 million contract after 4 seasons in Houston. Guard Isaiah Cannon has been re-signed after being waived mid last season. 38-year-old guard Jamal Crawford has agreed to a 1-year $2.4 million deal after a season in Minnesota. Young guard George King was selected in the 2nd round of the draft, has signed a 2-way deal. 20-year-old guard DeAnthony Melton was selected by Houston in the 2nd round, then traded for forward Ryan Anderson, for guard Brandon Knight and young forward Marquise Chris. 20-year-old guard Eli Okobo was also a 2nd round pick, 31st overall. Young swingman Michael Bridges was a 10th overall pick by Philly, then traded for the 11th pick 19-year-old swingman Zaire Smith and a 2021 first rounder. Forward Rashawn Holmes also traded from Philly for cash. And the 1st overall pick in this year's draft, 20-year-old center DeAndre Ayton. The notable outs, guard Brandon Knight played for 2.5 seasons, was traded to Houston. Former 8th overall pick young forward Marquise Chris played 2 years, was part of the trade as well. Former 5th overall pick forward Alex Len played 5 years in Phoenix, has gone to Atlanta. So a lot of young additions for Phoenix. Now we have the Portland Trail Blazers. Guard Seth Curry inked a 2-year deal. 19-year-old guard Anthony Simmons was a 1st round 24th overall pick out of high school. Signed guard Nick Stauskas as a free agent, was with Brooklyn and Philly last season. 19-year-old guard Gary Trent Jr. was drafted in the 2nd round by Sacramento, then traded for 2 future 2nd rounders. And the notable out is forward Ed Davis, has signed with Brooklyn after 3 seasons in Rip City. So just a few changes for Portland. Next up, the Sacramento Kings. Picked up guard Yogi Ferrell as a free agent, was with Dallas for a season and a half. Guard Ben McLemore has returned in a trade, including young forward Deontay Davis, a 2021 2nd round pick in cash, all for veteran swingman Garrett Temple. 19-year-old forward Marvin Bagley III was a 2nd overall pick in this year's draft. Forward Nemanja Bjelica signed a 3-year $20.5 million deal, played 3 seasons in Minnesota. Young undrafted forward Wenyen Gabriel signed a 2-way contract. The notable out is veteran swingman Garrett Temple played well in his 2 seasons, was traded to Memphis. And for the San Antonio Spurs, veteran swingman Marco Bellinelli has returned for a 2nd stint, was with Philly and Atlanta last season. And guard DeMar DeRozan in that blockbuster deal with young center Jakob Poeltl and a 2019 1st round pick, sending swingmen Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to Toronto. Guard Quincy Pondexter landed a deal, spent a brief time in Chicago last year. 19-year-old guard Lonnie Walker IV was the 18th overall draft pick. Veteran forward Dante Cunningham signed as a free agent, was with New Orleans and Brooklyn last season. Young undrafted forward Drew Eubanks has made the team. Young forward Shemezi Metu was their 2nd round draft pick. The notable outs include swingman Kyle Anderson played 4 seasons since being drafted, started majority of last season's games, has signed with Memphis. And of course the legend 41-year-old guard Manu Ginobili has retired after 16 seasons and 4 championships all with the Spurs. Veteran swingman Danny Green spent 8 seasons in San Antonio, was traded to Toronto. Forward Kawhi Leonard played in 7 seasons, traded to Toronto too. The other legend, 36-year-old guard Tony Parker, after 17 seasons in San Antonio, has decided to sign with Charlotte. So we have a very different looking Spurs team now. And last but not least, the Utah Jazz. Young guard Grayson Allen was a 1st round 21st overall pick in the draft. Guard Nazareth Mitchell Long is back on another 2-way deal. And young forward Tyler Cavanaugh signed a 2-way contract, was with Atlanta last season. So only a couple moves for Utah. So there you have it, guys. I'm sure you're excited for the new NBA season, because I know I am. It's going to be quite an interesting one for sure. So thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you'll tune in to the next episode.